It's an interesting time having this feedback informed treatment training coming up because the other thing that's obviously happened this year, 2024, is that deliberate practice is part of our psychologist competencies.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure if I ever thought that that was going to happen. And there's actually a lot of countries around the world, which I think you would be aware of as well, who are quite jealous of
Oh,
Australia being at the forefront. They cannot believe that this is now part of the competencies doing
right,
deliberate practice.
right.
Now, you've done deliberate practice
I'm
for a
doing
reason.
it. I don't think it's
Doing,
a thing that you do, you know.
that's true.
Yeah,
Thank you. It is a
yeah,
process.
yeah.
And a lot of people out there, a lot of Australian psychologists are going to be thinking about, all right, it would be
Yeah,
advisable to do something in
yes,
deliberate practice.
yeah.
Maybe we could break it down to if you were going to advise someone that might be seeing this on how to start your deliberate practice process or journey,
Yeah.
where's maybe the first place or one of a couple of the first places that they might be able to start?
Start tracking your data. You've got to start with fit because if you don't
Mm,
know where you are, and you need at least 40, but I think it's 60 completed cases, closed cases. So you can actually start looking at your aggregate data and see, where you're doing well enough, where there may be patterns of areas that may need improvement. So,
mm,
and then, you know, having the data, I think you can't do DP. I think not in the way that Scott and, Scott Miller and Daryl Chow are talking about if you don't have the data. So the data
mm,
is the first place. Do some fit training so that you
mm,
know how to use this. And they do, the apps do all the algorithms in the background, have them all. So it figures out the data. It can show you whether, you're actually meeting the international benchmarks. And
mm,
then you get a coach, someone who I think, as Scott says, or as the recommendations are someone that you admire and whose work you're familiar with and who has been tracking their own data so that they can help you, because we all have blind spots. So you
mm,
need the coach, and then you're going to be mining the data for where might be your growing edge, your, sort of the individual learning objectives that you might have that would be helpful. And then it's repetition, the constant, what's the word here? I'm gonna get it here. It's the successive refinement, they call it.
mm,
And then getting the feedback on that. How is it? Is it changing anything? How is it
yeah,
working? What's it like for you? And
mm,
yeah, it's just that process. Oh, it's an iterative process. So it's constantly changing and developing. So it's not, as Daryl Chow says, it's not just how you perform the therapy, because when
mm,
we're in the session, we're doing the performance of it, and you can't be necessarily focusing on what you're supposed to be learning or developing as a therapist. That happens after the session in the reflections and working with the coach and seeing
mm,
what's working and what isn't working. But as all the trainings are telling us,
mm,
deliberate practice, it's a slow process. It's like you don't get a rapid kind of improvement in your own development and in the
mm,
data. It's kind of it's slow. It's minute, but it's heading in the right direction. It's on track, just like we're doing with our clients. If we're on track with our DP, then things are going to be on track with our work in general.